Thursday morning. Hope you had a good rest last night. Hope you're looking forward to a good day today. We're looking at bearing one another's burdens, and it's got us to the track of John chapter number 13, and we'll look at John chapter 15. And so as we look at fulfilling one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ, right? And our text is Galatians 6, 1 and 2. So as we look at this, John chapter 13 and verse number 34, the beautiful thing as we look at the Word of God and the examples that God gives us to follow is amazing. And here we find one of those. He's giving us a command. He's going to give us an example. Okay. Now, obviously we know that God knows that we're not perfect. He knows us. So, but he's given us a goal, if I could say, an example to follow, to keep our focus, to keep our perspective trained, so that we're not getting sidetracked or do a comparison unjustly. Now, let me explain. John 13:34. Let's read that. A new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another. Here's the example. So the command is that you love one another. Here's the example. As I have loved you, that ye also love one another. What a verse. So the Lord's saying, I have loved you. So here's a commandment I'm giving you. I want you to love one another as I have loved you. Love one another. So he's repeating it. Now, obviously, only twice in that verse, but he's really driving that home. So he's saying, I want you to love one another. And the example I'm giving you is how I've loved you. Now remember, by the time the Lord has finished his earthly ministry with these men, they're going to have seen him um, take a wash basin towel and wash each of their feet. Now, if you know anything about that culture, that was the lowest rung of things to do, washing feet. It was not, I don't believe, high on anybody's job description, and there was of course a lot of servants in these days. It was not on their job description. I don't think for them to say, you know what, I just can't wait to wash feet again. I don't think so. They wore sandals. Their feet were dusty. So when somebody would have a lot of guests over, they would come in, take their sandals off, and have their feet washed to refresh them. And so Jesus is telling them, men, or whoever was listening, I'm giving you a commandment to love one another. Now, the idea was that they wanted to have vengeance. Somebody pays back somebody, or only love someone that loves you, and so on. And we find Jesus said, what reward do you have if you love someone who loves you? Big deal. Don't even the publicans the same. Again, remember who the publicans were. The publicans were often Jewish people who collected taxes for the Romans. They were not very well liked. They were not high on anybody's priority list to have a party. Hey, we're going to have a party. Let's invite all the publicans. That was not the case. They were despised because they were, collecting taxes for the enemy. I mean, it's bad enough collecting taxes, but for the enemy? And often these publicans would put a little bit more so they could get a little more profit for themselves. Now, the Lord's saying, I want you to love one another. And the example I'm going to give you is myself. Let's look at verse 35. By this shall all men know that you're my disciples, if you love one another. Okay. By this is the evidence that you're my disciple. The Lord loved them. And as you look at the disciples and look at these men, man, they probably weren't easy to love some days. John chapter 15, verse 12. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. As we look at restoring the one who's overtaken in a fault, the restoration, it takes love, because our human reaction wants to rejoice in their fault, rejoice in their sin that they've committed, to bring them back down to, but love says, hey, yes, you did this. Let's get this reconciled. But let me love you and show you the law of Christ being fulfilled and helping you be restored. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.